First question there is that how do you deal with a customer who literally screams in your face and your colleague is on a break? It's difficult to stay calm. One of the hardest things that we're going to find out is that there's some things that I can't teach you. I can't teach courage. I can't teach confidence. I can't teach mental toughness. These are things that have normally been indoctrinated into you from how your parents or teachers or mentors may have been able to access you as a young person to be able to say, hey, you need to remain calm here. We all know that there's the fight response, the flight response, the flow response, and the freeze response. And we'll go through some of those too. But how do you remain calm? That's tough. How do you remain? Yeah, somebody's screaming in your face. You got somebody that's just gone on a break. You're left there on your own. What do you do with this person? I've got some strategies for that. What I would like from you is to be able to say to yourself, I've got these strategies. If they work for you and you like to use them, please use them. Some people won't be able to use them. And the reason why I say that is because they don't have the confidence just yet. So we'll see how that might work. Somebody's just written there, no questions yet, thanks, not yet. Do we have the right to ask someone to leave the library if their behavior is completely over the top and aggressive? The simple answer to that is yes. We will go through this. We'll give them a warning. We'll let them know how the policy of the library or your council operates, and we'll be able to say to them in a very calm, clear voice, what it is that you would request that for them to do. Now, because it's a public space, that makes it difficult because a person says, the library is open to the public. You've invited me into here and now you're telling me to leave. Well, it's like the same as if I come into your house and I start yelling and screaming in your house, even though you've invited me in, I'm sure you'll kick me out if I start being rude and obnoxious, or you may just ask me to leave. But we'll see how we can use the language, because this is what's going to be important today. There's language behind what we say. And I'm so glad we're recording this. And you'll also get copies of the PowerPoint so you can just flick through it. But you will have all this in front of you. So that's a great question. No particular question, just looking at tips that we can use with customer interactions. Great. This one's great. How do you handle people spitting food on you? And there's different types of food that people will spit on. So some people may have, I'm not being rude here, they just have no teeth. They may have a speech impediment. They may have something that's in their mouth. They didn't realize they spat it out and they accidentally spat. I'm sure we've all done it. We've laughed and we've spat some food out. But I'm thinking what this is here, where somebody is literally putting food in their mouth. They've got something in there, whether it's chips, a biscuit, a hamburger, any sort of food, and they look at you directly in the eye and you can see them that they are gearing up to spit at you. How do you handle this situation? Once it leaves the mouth, there's not a lot you can do. That's the tough part about sometimes what happens is that when somebody is already in the act, we've only got a defense mechanism, which we'll look at doing. So we'll have a look at how that works. Somebody's written here, as we deal with a lot of customers who are under the influence of substances, will there be tips on dealing with this? I've got a very good answer for this. My previous career, I dealt with a lot of people who were aggressive and under the influence. So I have a lot of training, but the library space is very different. And I'm not really able to use some of those tools within this context. Thanks. Somebody's written de-escalation strategies in general, different strategies for different situations. I got those. You're going to have so many that it'll do your head in at first, but it's good to hand them to you so you go, wow, which one can I use? It's like going to a bar and looking at all the thousands of whiskeys that you can order, and you go, which one will I have? You start with your favorite, and then you'll work your way through the other 900 at some stage. Somebody's lastly written, not so far, just keen for an overall view and to get some insight into how others handle the situation. So we will definitely be doing that. Welcome, everyone. We'll make sure that everyone gets that opportunity. I'm going to throw that link up one more because there may be the latecomers. If you have a look in the chat, there is a link there. That link will be the same link to when I have other questions, so you can leave that open. All right, I want to get started. One of the first things that I think is really important when we do a session like this is to at least explain that what we are going to go through is a safe methodology. And when I say that, because we normally say in any workspace, I've been in the construction site for the last 6 months, working with the people within construction on the back of their toilet doors. They've got everything around bullying behavior, how to handle a situation when you're being harassed. And one of the things that always comes up is our first priority is to remain safe. So we got this, and this is legislated. So this isn't something that Gerald came up with. This is legislated. And it says really that we have to think safe, make sure our surroundings is safe, make sure that we are protected. We go to work and we should be safe at work, and your workplace has a responsibility to keep you safe. And I want you to keep that in mind. Your workplace has a responsibility to keep you safe. And at any stage you don't feel safe, there should be an opportunity where you can move into a safe space, or where you can put yourself into a situation that you are safe from people or objects or machinery, so that you don't get harmed. And you should be able to go home safe. Now, I've got this here as a quick run through. We're not going to go through the regulation or legislation, but this has all been written under the Work Health and Safety Act of 2011, the Work Health and Safety Regulation of 2011, and the Workplace Health and Safety Safe Plan. And what we're going to be using, as you can see on the bottom of the screen there, or the bottom of the PowerPoint, we're going to be using TAC, which is tactical yet assertive communication. Assertive communication is not aggressive communication. Assertive communication is me just turning to you and saying, hey, thanks very much, Carly. There's no need for that. That's assertive. I'm stating my point to be able to say to you, I'm not accepting what it is that you're saying, and yet I have the right to be able to say that. Now, some people will say, well, hang on a minute. You just said, hey, Carly, well, Michael, there's no need for that. That might come across as aggressive. That's not aggressive language. And I think we want to be able to define the difference between how I assert myself and how I then can turn that into being an aggressive statement. Like if I tell you to do something, if I say, you need to put that down and you need to get outside now and you need to sit down and take a think about what you're doing. It sounds like I'm talking to children. That is an aggressive behavior. If I'm telling you to do something, but if I'm requesting for you to do something, that's not aggressive at all. So we'll see how your reactions to that is. And we're also going to be using NVC, non-violent communication. Once we gather all that, you're going to see that if you can put this in place, it's going to help you tremendously. I want to get clear on a few things today. Very clear on how do we mitigate danger. So the example about the person maybe spitting at you, the person with substance abuse, drugs, alcohol, mental illness, all those, that's not a substance abuse, but mental illness. How do we prevent ourselves from getting into a situation where it starts to escalate? Because we have to realize that people just don't get out of bed and become aggressive. Some may think that you're living with someone, or you have children that may just wake up and they are aggressive. There has to be a trigger point. And it's our job as professionals to be able to recognize that there are some of these trigger points that may start to seem like this is getting a little bit out of hand. So we're going to mitigate danger. We're going to see how we can do that. I've got a scenario for you. It's a library example, and it was one that would happen during COVID. And we're going to explore how this will happen. And already some of you are thinking, yeah, during COVID, that was tough. You had to stand 1.5 meters away. You had to wear masks. You had to be, vaccinated. You had to, cover your mouth, cough into your elbow, touch. We had to do all those things during COVID. And yet the example I have for you, we can then transfer that to any other situation. Of course, we get into then why do we get angry? Now, I'm sure with the 20 people that are sitting around the room here, I'm sure we've all got angry. I get angry. You get angry. If you're saying to me you don't get angry, then I bet you that because you don't get angry is that you must make other people angry with you not having an emotion. So just keep that in mind. We all get angry. We all get frustrated. Anger is a natural response. It's how we handle the situation, or handle and I think regulate our anger. If anyone's done any sort of emotional intelligence, the EI or EQ, you will know that step number 1 is self-awareness. I know I get angry. Step number 2 is self-regulation. Now that I know I get angry, how do I calm myself from being angry? So we'll talk about some of that. And the next three are very important. So what do we do? Somebody's about to spit on me. Somebody is hang on. Somebody's just trying to come in. Somebody's trying to spit on you. Somebody is throwing things at you. Somebody is yelling, raising their voice. Well, what do we do? Well, I've got three things, and only three things that we can do, and only two will work. So of the three, you can choose any one of the three. Only two will work because the third one is illegal. So we won't use that. The next one we got there is the most important, and I want to get into this part pretty quick. And the reason why is that when we're here to know what strategies we have, what do I say to these people? Like, how do I already say to this person that their behavior is not welcomed in this space? How do I say that without having to say, excuse me, sir, your behavior is not welcomed in this space? We're going to talk about, we're going to write them up. You're going to see them. Like I said, it is a strategy. You will get the whole PowerPoint for this, so you can go through it 1,000 times. But my greatest suggestion to you is that you pick one and you stick with it. And the reason why I say that is because there are so many that you'll get confused by which one will I use. You pick one, you use it for 6 months, and then you can start to expand on it. And through my training and my experience, I've used all of them. In fact, they're all the things that I've said while I was de-escalating hostile situations. And I work with police, I work with correctional centers, healthcare workers, council, of course, and local law, libraries, etc. And then the last thing is that we're going to talk about those communication strategies. I want you to quickly just have a look at this, right? And we're looking at the right-hand side of the screen there where we've got energy. What's your energy like when you're dealing with an aggressive customer? What is your energy? Are you excited? Are you scared, fearful? And how pleasant are you? Because it's very easy for me to say, just remain calm and be pleasant to a person. It's hard to be pleasant to a person who's yelling, screaming, and carrying on. There's no doubt that you have your own strategy. I've heard about people taking breaths in. I've heard about people being, staring through a person. But I want to know how you would deal with that situation. So already a couple of people have put they're unsure. Some are positive. So we're still getting midway through pleasantness. Some people are anxious. That's natural. Hopeful's a good one. That's good. Apprehensive is another good one. Yeah, you have to be a bit apprehensive. Uneasy. Yeah. So your energy is high because you're in a heightened state. I get that. And then we have how pleasant are you? Some are in the low to mid range. And then, of course, some are, if you're putting hopeful in there, that's a great response. If you can't see that on the screen, you may want to, let me just see in the chat if somebody's put that. Somebody said my link isn't working. You may need to jump out of it and click back on the link again. I'll put that back up again. I'll put the link back up. Might give you a better. So already with some of the responses that we have here, there's a fair few of us in the red. Yeah, and that tells me something. That tells me that this session is needed. If we're all in the green, like we're calm and we're balanced and we're at ease, it starts for somebody to think, oh, okay, so you've done some of this before. So these are good responses. I'll leave that there for a while. I'll just take it off the screen and we'll come back to it a little bit. Let's have a look at this. Now, on the left-hand side, we've got a whole range of different emotions. I'm hoping, or I'm thinking, that you came in here maybe a little bit in the neutral, the white phase. You're neutral, you're relaxed, you may be content. I'm doubting anyone came into this morning and I said, hi, I'm Gerald, and you were excited and euphoric. If you are, thank you. But I doubt very much that you are excited and euphoric. My little pat on the back. On the other hand, there may be some people that are upset. You may have just been in a situation. It could have been somebody cut you off in the car. Something happened at home. So that gets you a bit upset. You may have just turned up to work and somebody's asked you, where's that report from last Friday? And that upsets you a little bit. So you get a bit upset. You get not happy. agitated. And again, I don't think there's anyone in the session here this morning that is hostile and violent. I haven't seen anyone throw a tantrum just yet. So at the top end of the screen, you'll have things, that are way out and above. Now, this is where people do get to. But on the other end of the screen, you do have people that are euphoric and they're excited about your service that you provide. Now, let's look at the words here. I'm sure we've all said these. Let me know if you have. You don't have to respond, but in your head, you'll just give yourself a little nod. Have you ever said something to the in and around about where you've said to a person, what's your problem? Or what's up with you, mate? What do you want me to do about that? Sir, calm down. Oh, you're entitled to your opinion. You wouldn't understand. Sir, ma'am, unfortunately, council's policy. Now, if you've ever used the word unfortunately, from today on, I would like you to see if you could remove that word. Oh. The reason why I'm saying remove that word is because the word unfortunately is already a trigger. Let's just say, for example, you've applied for a position with me, and I write back to you and I say, hey, thanks very much, Michael. Thank you for your response. We've had a high number of participants wanting to apply for this position, and you're reading all this, and then you get to the word unfortunately. You don't have to read any further because it's not going to be good. There's nothing good about it. So if you can, remove the word unfortunately. Now, the word no there is one of those words, somebody will ask, do you have coffee making machine here? And you go, well, no, but there's one down the road or something. So I'm saying the word no in an aggressive or in a very much a, standoffish way. No, you can't do this here. This one here I've heard a lot. Yes, sir, ma'am, there is nothing I can do. That is a real trigger point. I know I get a bit frustrated when a person says to me, mate, there's just nothing I can do. And in my head, I'm going, well, there must be. It's a car. It's a mechanical issue. You're a mechanic. So there must be something you can do. But when they say that, I think they just want you off your back. So see if we can remove some of these words. That's not our job. Settle down. Come here. I can't. You have to. Or I'm an authorized officer. So it doesn't mean that where these numbers or where these words are relates to how aggressive it is. There's just a whole bunch of words that have been written in there. So if you use any of this, be aware that these are trigger points and that they can escalate a situation from someone being neutral to somebody being agitated. Let me give you a great example. If you're neutral right now, and we were doing this in a live session where we're sitting and I look at one person and I turn to that person and I say, Michael, come up the front here. I would like you to do a role play with me. Now, there will be already some people that would be agitated. They wouldn't be happy because some people don't like role plays. So why would I, knowing that some people don't like doing role plays, why would I pull someone out of a group? It must be for my benefit. So if I then say to a person, come up and do a role play with me, and that person says, no, thanks. Look, I'd rather not. And I go, come on. I'll make it safe for you. It's okay. That person then relents, gives in, and then walks up, is still embarrassed. And yet what I've done is I've used power to grab that person by going, oh, come on, it's okay. It'll be safe. And yet I've still agitated that person by making them do a role play. Now, there'll be some people, of course, that will say, I love role plays. Let me come up. I want to do the first one. They're very few and far between. I'd be the only one that would do that. Pick me. I want to do it. So have a look at all those. Wherever it is that you're sitting right now, you know this for sure. If you're content, I can get you upset. It's not hard for me to do that. If you're thrilled and happy, I can get you angry. It's not hard to do. It's actually not hard to get a person angry. The skill today is that if a person is angry, how do we get them one step lower? They'll still be angry, but now they may be just agitated or frustrated. That's the goal. The goal isn't to get them from abusive and hostile to thrilled and excited. If there was a skill for that, I would bottle that, I would sell it, and we would all live happily ever after. There is no skill in being able to get, or there's no way that we can get a hostile person to be happy. We can get them to be hostile and then less hostile. Abusive, less abusive. If you can do that, that's the goal. And then from less abusive, we can then work on strategies to be able to calm that person. We'll see how that works today. Here is how the strategy works. Work with me on this. So that will be me in the middle. That's me. Now, on one side, I have the system. The system in this case here is the library, or it's council, or it's state government, or it's local government. That's the system that we're working with. In the system has policies, procedures, rules, acts, methodologies, fees, prices. We have, we have a whole bunch of things that the system provides to ensure that the customer on the other side, the stakeholder, is able to work with the system to get the service that they require. Here's the problem. Sometimes when we use our system, the customer or stakeholder is not happy with our system. And that's where the aggression or the upsetness comes in. So if I have a system in place that says everyone must turn on their camera, and if everyone doesn't turn on their camera, I'm going to kick you out. Then you turn around and you go, but I don't have the camera facilities to turn on the camera, and you're going to punish me because I don't have the camera. And I go, yes, because that's my policy. So sometimes we've got to think, do we need to change our policy, or do we need to explain that, hey, it's okay, but the next time that you come in, maybe we can see if we can organize you a camera so that we can do this face to face. We'll always work with strategies. There's never a one response that will suit everything. So here's how it was going to work. With me, and let me just put up the screen for myself so I can see which way I'm going. No, that would be stakeholder, that side, and that's system. Yeah. I'm just trying to work out where my hands are going to go. So on one side, you're going to have the system. And with me in the middle, the goal for me to do is that I want you to think about this. Everything that is going to happen is I'm going to believe that the stakeholder is right, even if they're wrong. My goal today is to say whatever it is the customer says, and it may be lies, it may be falsehoods, it may be non-truths, it may be deception, misinformation, regardless, whatever it is the customer says, I am going to agree with them in principle. The back of my head will say something different, which will say something like, you are completely wrong. But in front of them, I'm going to give them the acknowledgement, the body language, the signals to let them know that what they are saying is correct. So, but bear with me here, because there will be some people that will think, but they're not, Gerald, they're not correct. If we can give a person the impression that what they're saying is correct, and then it's up to us to be able to use our skills to say, I get where you're coming from. It's just that the situation is this. Now, have a listen to how I just said that. Look, I get where you're coming from. What you're saying, you're making a really valid point. You're right. There should be services here that provides for people with size 24 shoes. It's just our system at this stage hasn't caught up to date with what it is that we need to provide. So have a think about how we're going to do this. On one side, you've got the customer. And we've heard that saying, the customer is always right. That's in principle. They're not always right. They lie, they cheat, they take drugs, they have mental illnesses, they take substance abuse. Some of them are just downright rude. But how do we calm that person down? If you think by calming them down is by telling them that they're wrong, and we say, yes, I understand where you're coming from, but our policy states that we are not allowed to allow anyone into this library unless they have a shirt on. That doesn't work, because you know that person is there to argue with you. They want to argue with you. And so all we're going to use is, okay, I get that you're right, but here's the situation. Think about that again. I get where you're coming from. I know you're making a very valid point, and you've come up with some great responses or excuses as to why you don't have payment for this. It's just that our system won't allow this to happen, but let me work with you because I think we've got a strategy that might be able to suit both of our needs. So as we work through this, you'll see this work, and it really just goes backwards and forwards. So if you're confused at this stage, wait till we get into the strategy, and then you'll see how this will work. And when you go back and replay this and say, he wants me to tell people that they're right. No, I'm not saying to tell them that they're right. We say things like, I get where you're coming from. You're making a valid point. That sounds like a reasonable response. I'm not saying it is a reasonable response. It sounds like a reasonable response. It sounds to me like you've worked through this. You've thought about this a lot. And then we go back to our system. It's just that our policies, it's just that our system, it's just that our computer, it's just that this or the situation doesn't allow us to do that. But let me explain how I can help you, because that's the important key. So we'll work with that, and we'll see how we go with all that. I'll just go through this quickly. This is always good. You'll get a copy of this. And I think this is important because with the 5 agreements, if you're here and you're already making an assumption about me, that's okay. But one of the things that we want to do is let's not make assumptions about any of our customers. We all do it. Hey, I'm the first one that will sit in the cafe, with my wife. And while I'm at the cafe, I'll look around, and both her and I will look, and we'll make chat about someone. I'm sure you all do it. I'm not the only one that does that. Yep. We go, gosh, does he not have a mirror? Seriously? Did he not put a decent pair of pants on today? We all make assumptions. We don't know who they are. Don't take anything personally. Look, this is easily said. This is easily said, but it's hard. Do I take things personally? Very rare now. Like, it's really hard for somebody to say something to me where I'll take it personally, because I know what they're doing is projecting. They're trying to bring me down to their level. So I may be here, or I'm thinking I'm here. They're down here. They're saying something that they want me to come down to their level and then be rude back to them. The only time I will take things personally if they use my father as a pawn. My father's 93 years of age. They say something about my father, you're getting a Chinese burn and a horsey bite. That's all I can say. But yeah, try not to take things personally. It is hard to do because we're humans and we have this human emotion. Be impeccable with your word. Now, we're going to go through this because the sayings and the phrases that we're going to be using today, we have to be exact. It's not a science. Today is not a science where if this happens, we just put this in place. Today is more of an art. If this happens, what can I use to make sure that I can calm the emotion of this person down? How can I get this person to stop what it is that they're doing right now? So our word is going to be impeccable. Always do your best. I think your parents have always said that. Did you do your best, son? Yeah, I did. That's all that matters. And then the last one there, which again, when somebody says, oh, look, the mayor told me this, or look, no, I've just been, with the new LNP government that's come in, they've already said that they're going to be doing this. Just be skeptical. If you don't know, do your research, do your homework, find out for yourself, be skeptical, but learn to listen. Listen to what it is that they're saying, because it might be something that they may surprise you with. And in this case here, listen. We've got 2 of these, 1 of those, and we should use them proportionately. Here are some natural and practiced skills of handling the wide spectrum of callers, either on the phone, because I'm sure some of us will be on the phone, or face-to-face. You need this. I can't help you with a lot of this. If you don't have this, it's the rest of dealing with customers is going to be hard. A good attitude, positive regard for all people, regardless of cultures, backgrounds, ethnicity. I can't even say that word. Cultures will do. The spectrum of people from different nations. Just positive regard for all people. You may be on the one side, what's been happening in the world. You've got Ukraine and Russia. We've got Palestine and Israel. We've got, Trump and Harris. Regardless, you have your viewpoints, great. But when you have a positive regard for another person, that makes you the better person. You may not like the person and you don't have to be their friend, but we've got to at least know that these people are still humans with a minor infarction of a mental illness. We all have a little bit of our own mental illness. We yell, we scream, we bite back, we attack. That's not normal. It shouldn't be. It should be normal, but it's not normal to yell at a person because we get a little bit upset. And the capacity and ability to use empathy, I can't stress this more. We'll go through a little bit of empathy, not a lot, but it will be in the way that we use these phrases. We have to recognize that there are customers who experience difficulty in conforming to what is expected of them. And this may be due to cognitive impairment, for example, delirium, psychosis, intoxication, intellectual disability. So in this way here, we have rules. Wherever it is that you're working, we all have rules. We have policies, procedures, regulations, acts, guidelines. We all have them. Some people just don't want to conform. Remember COVID? Stand 1.5 meters apart? No. Put your mask on? No, not doing that. Show me your QR code? No, mate, not doing that. There are people who just don't want to conform to what the rules are expected. There wouldn't be a person in front of me now, and if you are a person sitting in front of me now who has not had a speeding ticket or a parking ticket, well, you're an angel. But we've all had some sort of infringement. And the reason why is because we test it out. I'll park here for just a minute. I'll park here. There'll be 99% of you in here will not park in a disabled spot. There'll be 1% of person that will say, I'll park where I want. There will be probably 50% of people that will say, I will park in a pram spot. I will do that. Once we get a punishment or we get a ticket, does that help us stop the behavior? We know the answer is no. Because if you've had, and I might just put my screen up, if I can see any hands up or anything, is there anyone that has had more than one speeding ticket? Put a reaction down with a yes or a hands up. Is there anyone here that's had, well, yeah, so Lisa's put a hand up. She's had, so clearly the ticket didn't work. The behavior doesn't work. Somebody's just written, yes, I've had more than one. There's people saying, yes. Look at all you. Courtney's got her hand, ha, 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 sadly. Good on you, Kaylee. Yeah. Why? Did not the lesson teach us firstly that, hey, I was speeding and maybe I should slow down? No, because we all have a lapse in judgment. We all have a lapse in concentration. And that's how I see our customers. I truly do. They have a lapse in intelligence. They have a lapse in having someone guide them into how the rules work. So it's not a bad thing, but just keep that in mind, is that, yeah, we all sometimes don't conform. And then if we have a look at practice or life experience, these are the things I can't help you with. I find it very difficult. I can't help you with being more resilient. I just can't. There are, there are courses on how to be more resilient, but you walk out of that and just go, wow, how do I do that? It's hard. It's like getting up and doing a presentation. How do I become more resilient to a person yelling at me while I'm doing a presentation? How do I become resilient to that? Their learned experiences. Mental toughness, that's hard. TAC, tactical assertive communication. Assertiveness is hard, but that can be learned a little bit, but it's hard for people who don't know. Courage and confidence. Again, I can't teach you how to have confidence. I can't teach you how to be courageous. The only thing that comes with that is experiences. So if you're here for the first time and you're just new in libraries and you want to know, how do I become more confident, Gerald, in handling aggressive situations, is that you have to be behind aggressive situations. I know it's an anathema. We don't want to be behind those situations, but we learn. And if you have a look at people on helplines, have a look at people who are dealing with, say money or money collectors, how do they deal with it? Well, they just become more resilient. But in saying that, it also rips at our core. The more that you hear this stuff, it rips at us. So we need strategies. All right.